What up? It's your boy Jake with Through the Ropes podcast. Feel like I say this every time, but we have an extremely special guest with us today. I just want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by Great Northern Dispensary, Fresh Bread Productions, and also Fire Pizza. Also, I just want to start off and say, well, let me introduce him first. We got an awesome guest. We got Tim Welch, Montana legend, UFC coach, badass, just all around good dude. Welcome. Thank you for taking a little time to come see us today.
Dude, yeah, thanks for having me on, boys. Your guys' little studio is really sweet, so I was pumped to come on and do it for you.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, and it's a pretty fun spot. I do want to say our sponsor from Great Northern, Sean, he wanted to give you guys a little gift for while you're here, a little chill out time, smoke a nice fat little bat.
Right there, on. So, thank you, bro.
Yeah. So, Drew, you want to go ahead and kick us off?
Oh, hey, Tim. It's good to see you again. It's been a long time. Well, that we've actually sat down and talked. I sat at an event or two, but...
were you there the first day I ever started training MMA, I think?
At Big Sky Taekwondo. Yeah. And so, like, when I say people, I feel it's a misnomer to say that we trained together because I was like a MMA cardio, right? But you've always done like the same thing. I always say that because you showed up with like your same three tight homies. You showed up, did the class, and went with them and like did your thing. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy to see that you did that same process, like literally everywhere you've gone, and then created this little community down there of like literally killers.
Yeah, that is crazy. I remember. Well, his name was Scott, right?
Yeah, Scott Moretti, yeah.
Scott Moretti. Is he still teaching here?
Yeah, he's up there above the mall. He's still doing the Taekwondo stuff because he was Olympic Taekwondo heavyweight. He was always, because I was fighting welterweight and he talking about like losing weight. And he's like, I fought heavyweight. They're all losing weight. I'm like eating all I can eat. I'm like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah, he was a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, I believe. So he knew like a basic armbar, basic triangle. And the MMA cardio things he'd put us through were actually pretty tough.
They were.
He'd have us do live goes and he'd spar with us once in a while. And he kicked me in the head one time. I was like, holy fuck, that was fast, dude. Like,
out of nowhere. But it's like Olympic level, like... Yeah,
but thankfully they had that because in Great Falls at the time that was the only place to do any MMA.
Yeah, and then when that shut down, because he stopped his MMA class, then Joe McMillan, Tommy's dad. Yeah, Tommy was at Great Northern Wrestling or Northern Montana. I can't remember whatever that one.
It's Montana.
Yes, thank you. And so we just used that mat space and ran drills until we found Team Irish, and then it became ECMMA, and that was before he sent off to Wolfpack. But Tommy was doing his wrestling drills while we were doing our MMA drills on that mat. So it's like beautiful to see this evolution of how everything's grown.
Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. When I sit down and think about it all, it's really crazy. But I'm excited for Tommy too. Yeah. Like he took a big risk for this fight. This guy that he's fighting isn't an easy fight. And Tommy could sit out and wait until spring and get another Contender Series fight, but he's like, for him, he's a crazy kid, so it's better off just keeping him busy. So took this fight too. It's a risk, but he's ready to go. The kid's he's a machine. He is a machine, dude. His cardio is insane. His wrestling, it's so hard for Division I wrestlers that come into my gym. He's so hard to take down.
He was training with the tough. He was 14, 15. I watched him like twist up adults consistently. He was tough, and he was fighting adults sparring because dad's there. That's what you do.
Yeah, so I'm excited for him because that was a freaking nightmare. We had the best training camp ever for that Austin Bashi, his Contender Series fight, and then just a freak accident happened and had to pull out. So that was like, that fucking gutted us because we put a lot of work into that. But now he's back, ready to go. So hopefully he whoops this kid's ass tomorrow.
That was just kind of like a stupid injury, like kind of pushed off weird, and it just...
No, he came in and he's like, hey, I was like, hey, you want to just drill tonight? The weigh-ins are in a couple days. He's like, nah, I'll go live. So I put him with a group that I thought would be safe, and it was just a wrestling scramble. Yeah. Not eating no calories, not eating a lot, and just got tipped off and fucked his shoulder
just
up.
As he landed. Yeah, one of those stupid injuries like you're saying.
Yeah.
So is someone like you mentoring Tommy, and I seen that picture the other day in your gym. It looks like it's growing every time I see a picture of your classes. What is it like for you, like, looking up to maybe the Scott Morantis, or, you had certain people you looked up to, whether they were local or, on a bigger level. What is it like now being that person, that young kids, young men, women, whoever, what is it like being that guy that you're kind of the mentor that they go to now? And
I mean, yeah, it's weird how it all worked out and just kind of it happened this way. But I think it was meant to happen this way. I remember early on, every gym I'd go into, I'd look at it and be like, I'm going to have a gym one day. What things do I like about this gym that I can bring into my gym? And I've had so many good coaches, like Steve Comack started at high school wrestling, Nate Hoynes, and then I moved to Missoula, Montana, had great coaches, and had great coaches in Oregon. I've had so many great coaches, so just taking the good things that made me feel good that they did and then doing away with the other stuff, it kind of put me in a good spot. I'm super lucky to have all those good coaches and to learn all that knowledge from those guys. And now I have, I think, 300 students at my gym. And, I mean, it's a lot, but I've put all the people in the right places to help it grow. I have other people that run classes and do stuff that are great that are great at jiu-jitsu, great at MMA, and really love it and help the program grow. So putting the people in the right places, that's been the hardest part. But dude, it's a fucking dream.
And then a follow-up on that. Did you have, like, when you're putting your gym together, did you have a mentor or someone you talked to, like, that's already kind of ran through this process that kind of helped you on that, or are you just going with the flow?
My jiu-jitsu professor, Taquino Mendez, he was one of the best jiu-jitsu guys to ever live. Like, he's done it so long. He's won every single major tournament at black belt you can think of. And he had a gym, and he was probably one of my main mentors coming up to where I could just, like, talk to him about anything when it comes to making the gym. And I've always had good relationships with people. So all the gyms I've trained at, I've never really burned bridges and, like, oh, fuck you, or start talking shit and talking bad about people all over. So I have good relationships everywhere. So there's a lot of people I could reach out to that are more than willing to help me.
That's awesome.
So you laid a lot of the solid groundwork where people were more than willing to want to reach out when you needed it and help you out.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think that's important. People get toxic and start burning bridges so quick, instead of just trying to look at things from the other person's point of view and be like, that maybe why they're thinking this, and then try to communicate. And if they're just so crazy and they piss you off so much, just trying to avoid them.
Yeah, trying to, like, make decisions through empathy and compassion. That's kind of
a little bit. Yeah.
Alrighty.
So what? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know you got some killers in your gym. I love watching JoJo fight. I love watching Ezra fight. And then the other guy, is his name Clay?
David Clay.
David Clay, yes, that's what it is. Yeah, I love watching those guys fight because every time they fight, they're just like a firestorm just coming through and just rolling through people. Could you kind of talk about, like, some of the up and coming people you have in your gym and kind of whatnot with that?
Yeah, I've probably had to turn down now 5-6 UFC people who came and said, hey, can you run my fight camps? Can you coach me and help me? And I'm just honest with them. Like, I have 3 podcasts I do a week. I have 300 students at my gym. I have a coffee shop that I have to run. And I'm doing all the social media stuff. So it's like, it's a lot of stuff to do. Yeah. So I'm just honest with them. And it's like, hey, right now I don't have the time. I'm not going to be able to coach you as much as you need me to. So I have to say no to these guys. But the group I do have, I absolutely love them. And I don't really want to grow it to make this. I don't want a huge MMA fight team. I have a solid group of guys, and they're all undefeated. I have Joseph Griffin. I think he's 5-0 now. He's a 145-pound kid who's very, very tough, very scrappy. David Clay, 19 years old. He's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, 2-time purple belt world champion. He's 1-0. And for him, we're having to pay people. Like, we're trying to pay people like $500 just to fight him because we can't find him fights, and I understand why. And then I have another kid, Joseph Perez, who's 5-1. He's like an athletic ninja. He did taekwondo, karate growing up, and he's played college football. He's going to be a big name. I have my boy JJ. I have probably 8 core guys that I really know have some serious potential if they just stick with it. But again, sticking with it's the hard part. Anybody has serious potential, but just sticking with it for a decade, and just being broke because you're not going to make any money in fighting. Like, Suga lucked out. He's a rarity that you make real money. But probably 80-90% of people will never make enough money to live.
What, 10-10 on a UFC fight? So $20K, and how much do you commit to get to that?
I mean, okay, so you get 10-10, and then you got to pay taxes, and then you got to pay your coaches 10%, and then if you have strength conditioning or whatever, you got to pay them 10%, and then you got to pay your managers 10%. A lot of managers do 20%, so that's 30% gone right off the rip. So you've worked your whole life, dedicated your whole life to this sport, and you've become an expert at it. You make it to the UFC, win a big UFC fight, and you go home with 10, 12 grand. It's like, all right. And then to win, I mean, if you keep winning, you'll get more and more money. You'll be able to negotiate more. But if you win in a not exciting way, you're not going to get that much more money. If you win in an exciting way, then you can negotiate, and then it goes up and up and up. So
yeah, and you have to have that it factor too, especially nowadays.
Yeah,
that's where like you're saying. Sugar's lucky and whatever. He's like, he is a unique case, like all around.
Yeah.
Like, ask anybody who's fodder trained with him. He's unique.
Yeah.
And that goes a lot to too with how well I feel like you guys have sold your. Not, I don't want to say sell yourselves, but like on social media, you guys make funny shit. You also make thought provoking stuff. It's like a good mixture. I really enjoyed watching like the self defense stuff you've been doing recently. One of my favorite videos that you guys did. I don't know how long ago you did it. Was when you're on the scooter driving it for Sean. He's smoking and doing the fucking chaining. But going back to kind of what you're saying with telling people to stick with it, and that's one thing I kind of appreciate what I see on your socials when people, you know, I don't obviously see everything, but a lot of times when people are like, hey, what does it take to get to your spot and stuff like that, you're always like, grind, show up every day. Basically just telling them you got to dedicate yourself every second of every day to your craft and what you want to.
Yeah, where were you when we were struggling during this, and when you were grinding? I heard you on that. Where were you guys when we were grinding, and you wanted a piece of this? Like,
well, it's weird now because now we meet people within the last year, within the last 2 years, and they like think we're just like these rich kids, and we've always been that way. I'm like, bro, you don't understand how broke we were. We were like broke, flat broke until we got here. But a lot of the social media stuff and with Suga, it's takes vulnerability to be able to post that stuff, like, and then everybody's gonna have their input, everyone's gonna make fun of you, people are gonna laugh, whatever, they're gonna support you, but it takes balls. People that don't do content don't realize that. They're like, oh man, they just make content and they make money. It's like, it's a lot harder than you think.
It's way harder. It's like, what, in February I messaged you and said, I'm going to start this YouTube channel, just you inspire me, all that other stuff, which it's true because you just did your own thing and now you're at this like beautiful spot. So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it. Then I just got lucky. Paris and all of this happened because I was in the right spot. Paris is the man. Like, we met up right after my surgery, and he's like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll do it. And then like a week later, this is all set up like literally magic. It's like, did I just come out of a like pipe dream off these pain pills? Like, you're like, what's going on? Yeah,
but now I'm here. It's crazy. I mean, podcasting in itself is a whole nother thing. Everyone thinks they could do a podcast. Nope. I'm like, try doing that wait till you get to 20 episodes, and then we'll see. Because majority of podcasts, they'll end before 10 episodes because it's so you show up every single week. And even with the Timbo Sugar Show, now we're moving to 2 times a month because it's hard with Suga and I, because now we bought this like little farm. My house is at one end, his house is at the other end. So pretty much every day we're hanging out with each other. So when we get on this podcast, we don't have shit to talk about.
Because you're bullshitting the whole time.
Bro, fuck.
So your dream is kind of slowly coming together. Wasn't that a while back you said that's kind of what you were hoping to do, is eventually have like a compound, a complex, you know, of like people that you want around you and stuff like that?
And not really a bunch of people, just like land for my girlfriend. She's a barrel racer, and then we have, I think right now on just our side, we have 27 animals. But like 15 of them are chickens. So 15 are chickens, 2 are barn cats, and then we got this new Maine Coon, and then I have 2 dogs, and then she has her 3 horses. But already it's just like, yeah, you don't want to leave. Having the land and just the peace, and then Sean has his baby too, so raising her around animals and stuff, I think is just the best way to do it.
So do you come home often and there's a random new animal your wife has brought to the farm? Or do you bring the wild animal back?
It's surprisingly, it's a lot of me being like, man, maybe we should get this, maybe we should get this. But she's like an animal lover. I never used to like love animals as much as I do now.
Yeah.
Is this in the Crooked Tree Coffee?
It's right next to it. It's Speaking Socially.
Yeah, Speaking Social. Yeah, that's funny. Like, I think we need a llama.
Now that you have a little bit more space, it's just going to get more and more.
It's ridiculous.
We need a cow or 2.
Yeah, but it's crazy even for us. Like, I read the book Tools of Titans by Tim Ferriss. This had to have been 7 years ago, and he would talk about having a podcast and what equipment you need. And I told Sean, I'm like, man, I really want to have my own podcast one day. And then finally we ended up starting it. So we've been podcasting now for 7 years. Like, it's been crazy. A fucking minute.
Yeah,
that's
like
crazy.
When I started, I didn't even know what equipment to get. You know, you don't even know where to start. And like, you think you can do it, but it's tough just even to get started. Then how do you run it? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then how do you make it not look like it's in your mom's garage?
That Tim Ferriss book, you guys should read it, because he talks a lot about, he's just the expert interviewer. He's an expert interviewer. He has like the best questions. He asks these like high performing people, and yeah, I kind of got my motivation for podcasting from him for sure. After when I got injured and I broke down, I mean, tore this bicep completely, broke my jaw, and I'm like recovering from these injuries. I'm like, I know there's just two ways I can go. I can sit and eat these pain pills, eat shitty food, just watch TV, feel sorry for myself, or I can just start reading. Still, from brown belt to black belt, I was injured most of the time, but that's when I had my biggest growth, especially in jiu-jitsu, because I'd go into the room every single day and just watch because I cared about what was going on, not just watching like blah, blah, blah. So having that mindset through my injuries, now every time I get injured or every time one of my students gets injured, it's like it's just such a perfect time to just build something else. And especially in fighting, it's probably 75-80% mental.
Yeah.
And you work out in the gym, you lift weights, you go improve your jiu-jitsu, you go improve your MMA, but how much are you really just sitting there trying to strengthen your brain?
How much is lab and how much is lecture, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that's like one thing I've tried to explain to people too. It's like, you know, when you're on your fitness journey, it's like, that's great that you're wanting to eat healthier or, you know, go to the gym more. It's like, but you also need to be working on your brain, your consciousness, and what else is going on up there. Because if you're not firing on all levels, you know, you're not going to be able to kind of, you know, hit that high level that you're.
So what happened to you, Jake? I mean, for people who don't know, me and Jake got in a very good street fight at Lions Park here in Great Falls High. Well, he was like the shit star. I don't even remember how it happened, but I remember calling you and saying, "You want to fight?" He said yes, and I said, "Bring your boys." And I brought my boys, and I was like trying to ice my knuckles on a Monster Energy drink. On a Monster Energy drink, chugged a Monster Energy drink, and then we got to Lions Park.
Monster.
This is Nick. This is my guy.
What's up, man? How's it going?
And then we showed up to Lions Park, and I saw him. He said, "There he is." I'm like, okay. So I took my glasses off, and I'm fucking blind as a bat, and it's dark. And I go and I get him in like an over-under position, and I'm like, I'm gonna throw him. And I went to throw him, a big throw, and I landed flat on my back. Boom. Then I bridged up into a single leg, made a big lift, lifted him, slammed him, bounced his head off the back of the concrete, got on top, was like, bounce your head off the concrete a couple times, and then I'm like so gassed. Then the cops start coming. Your buddies grab you, throw you in a SUV. So one of your friends, I don't know, maybe it wasn't your friend, but they came behind me with like a half a pool stick and swung it at the side of my head, and I ducked, and it hit a friend. I'm like, holy fuck, thank God that didn't hit me. And he ran off. Cops came, and then I think it was 5 days later that we saw each other in court, and you buzzed your head, and you had all your scrapes and scabs on the back of your head. And then, because you were kind of a shithead kid in high school, and then you started turning into this good person for the community. How did that happen?
Well, I just, you know, I was, you know, it was like the CMR Great Falls High beef. I had a couple of people, you know, and just, I don't know how like me and you started. It's like I was beefing with someone else, and just, you know, shit always happens. And I just was, you know, doing a lot of dumb shit when I was younger, you know, running around, running drugs around and doing dumb shit, you know, and I do, you know, I was decent in some ways, but bad in a lot of other ways. And yeah, I mean, I started getting like better about things, and, you know, I liked drinking a little too much. And, you know, it's kind of I got sick of being like a good person a chunk of the time, but then there was like this other side of me that wasn't a good person. So I got 3 DUIs in like 9 years. And that last one, the court stuff sucked. The money it was over 15 grand, my last one. But like
just
the worst,
for lawyer fees, or
I was on a breathalyzer for a year and a half. Yeah, I had to go to the pre-release for 30 days straight, and all this shit, dude. And but the thing that like really snapped me and made me like change was I went trick-or-treating with my brother's kids every year since they were born. And then they came to my work because I was on work release from their pre-release, and they just said, "Oh, you know what, when you get off work, you going trick-or-treating with us?" And I had to lie to them because I had to go back to the pre-release. And just seeing like the disappointment in their face and stuff, it was it was a lot. And you know, I'd been through a lot of shit and seen a lot of crazy shit, dude, and nothing had ever really just like all the shit that all the people telling me to change and better my life, it just never really sank in like that. And then just after seeing them like that, I just never wanted to disappoint them like that again, you know what I mean? And I had a lot of people that were, you know, helping me throughout the years when I was fucking up, and it's like, how can I be there and help them in their journey, you know?
It's pretty impressive. I mean, most people in Great Falls just fucking tank, dude, and just head straight down and do it. So it's probably a good role model for a lot of those people. Say it's possible to turn it around.
Yeah. When I've had a lot of people privately reach out to me, and I'm very open, and at least in my journey I'm pretty open about a lot of shit because, just for me, it's like I did what I did and I'm here now. So there's no reason to fucking, mince words about shit. But, I have a lot of people that reach out to me privately just because I am like pretty open about my shit. I don't like saying I'm sober because I still smoke weed, obviously, but I don't drink. And, it's been fun. I mean, I quit drinking, and within a year I lost almost 100 pounds, and the gym kind of became my savior. So it was good. And then as far as the community, I've always just felt tight with the community because when my sister was sick when we were younger, a lot of people reached out and helped my family in a time of need. So now that I'm older and becoming a little more financially stable, and I'm with the union, the Carpenters Union, so they're really good about, they know that I'm active. So when I call on their help for financial stuff, they're pretty good about it.
So how about your brother? How's he doing, Colton?
He's good, dude. He hasn't, since his last little bout of getting in trouble legally wise, he's doing good. Since he had his kids, he's chilled out a bit, and he's been working at the school district for, I want to say like 6 or 7 years now. So he's good. Yeah,
that's good to see, bro. I mean, god damn it, how many people do you see just fucking tank? And like, I don't even know what happened to the Randy Stevens things, but seeing that kind of shit online, I'm like, holy fuck.
And how many people that affects, and how many people and it's like, that's the smiley guy that everyone loved, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he could walk into a room. And so
why is it so bad in Great Falls? Is it because of the casinos? Is it because
I was gonna say, what I think it is like, obviously there's not much to do here, and I think you either find something, like you find a niche, something to do, or you just kind of fall into that, like, the drugs and the drinking and just kind of like doing whatever, just working a 9 to 5 just so you can party on the weekends. And I see a lot of that, like with a lot of my friends, but then I also see with a lot of my other friends also, is like they find like a niche. Like I found my niche, like filmmaking and taking photos and like traveling and doing all that stuff. So that distracts me and keeps me away from that. And also starting a family here soon too. So I got a little girl on the way in January.
Fuck yeah.
And so yeah, just all of that, like just finding something to do other than just like wanting to go out and party every weekend is kind of like what I see a lot of people falling into.
I chose brain damage.
When it just goes back to like what we were saying is like you have to be right. Like this is the biggest area to be. I mean, the health is obviously really good and other stuff, but you have to like get shit right in your head. And you're not useful to anyone else or yourself, and until you're good with yourself.
I mean, but then you'll be surprised like how much just working out, how much just eating healthy, how much staying hydrated. You're like, damn, I'm not so moody today, or I'm not so anxious today, or I'm not so fucking just edgy because I slept really good. I ate some clean food and I worked out. I'm a little bit more at peace. People don't correlate those two together that much, which is crazy to me.
Right. Well, I think a big problem.
Yep.
I think a big problem too with Great Falls, like I'm always jealous when I see your like Snapchats and stuff, just the awesome like super healthy like markets that you can go to where it's affordable, good, like homemade stuff, you know what I mean? And I feel like Great Falls especially is like lacking these places that affords people to go and eat a little bit healthier without completely breaking the bank. And also I just feel like a lot of people just don't know about it, or just.
Well, I mean, a lot of old school people too. They're like, "Oh, that's hippie shit. I don't need that hippie shit. I need some fucking a burger."
Yeah.
Well, and also you have to take the weather into account too. Like that cold, gloomy days. If you're already kind of on a down, or you have that, it's going to send you in about a melancholy.
Yeah, it's just windy as hell.
Yeah, dude.
It's just beating you up all the time.
Yeah, dude, just oppressive.
Yeah, with that winter stuff too. I used to hate winter so much. I was like, oh, this place sucks. I can't wait to move out of here. But I started snowboarding, and that's like another thing that like I've kind of thrown myself into, and that's been a ton of fun to do.
Yeah.
It seems like it's getting better too. Nice restaurants are popping up. God, I wonder if that Joe Diesel, the Counterpunch place, is still for sale. I saw it online one time that it was for sale.
No, I think Brady bought it, and then he moved it over. He got it way more cost effective, so he could not be bleeding money to run the gym.
Yeah. And like, what was bleeding money? He moved it.
Yeah, he moved it because the place he was at was just killing him in rent.
Oh, okay.
And so then he was able to like stabilize it.
So he still owns it.
Yeah.
Yes, Brady does.
He's over in the Columbus Center. I think he just did a bunch of remodeling and stuff on the side of it.
Good.
And that was sad at that last bare knuckle. I was pretty sad about that.
Yeah, it was really cool when Joe.
What happened at the bare knuckle?
Oh, Brady had his spot, and the guy dropped him with a body blow in the first round.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I was like, I was really rooting.
Was
for
that
him.
in Billings?
Yeah, that was
Okay.
Billings.
I think I did see that.
Yeah, that was a fun little card. That was a nice time.
What were we say, Paris?
Oh, that was really cool to have Joe here when he was here, Joe Riggs.
Yeah.
To be able to give that kind of like talent and give that kind of like high level training when he's here. So I was super sad when he moved.
Yeah.
But I totally understand why though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you see him on the podcast on yours and stuff, and after seeing him here, like his mental shift is like night and day.
Really?
Yeah, like you can see him, like he's a lot happier on that, like how he interacts, and when he was up here,
Just kind of down. I think he watched the episode of Yellowstone and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're moving downtown."
Where's my horse?
I think that happens a lot recently.
No, for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, Joe's a character though, man.
Yeah.
There's no one like that dude. He's a fucking character, but he's a pretty good co-host, huh?
yeah. No,
He's a wild bastard.
So-
you don't care. He doesn't give a fuck.
So for you, what is it? Do you just feel like a real big kind of like loyalty to Montana? Is that why you like bringing your guys up here? Is this a good place because of the high altitude, or what kind of got you let in with Fusion and all this stuff?
I mean, Suga and I fought in Fusion a lot, so we always liked it, but it's so hard. People don't realize how hard it is to find fights in Arizona. In Arizona, it's like one of the meccas for MMA. So there's a MMA gym every mile, it seems like. Everywhere. So there's thousands of MMA people there, and they only put on 2 shows, sometimes 3 shows. So it's so competitive to get on those. And here, I mean, back in the day when we were coming up, you could fight damn near every weekend and get so much experience. We fought so much as amateurs, and I think that helped later on in the career. We've just been in there in the cage so many times.
It's just natural to have those be in front of those people. They don't exist anymore.
And my dad lives here, so coming up, being able to see him gives me excuse to see some of my friends and stuff. So coming up here and just getting in fights up here is fun. Yeah,
It's fun. I mean, I know I tell those guys every time they're up here, we really appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for coming up. It's a different tier of fighter, and it's a really good show to watch, and they put on an awesome performance every time. So
this weekend's show is gonna be stacked.
Yeah.
It's sweet, bro. I love seeing it.
And some of those fights are really good. With Ezra's fight against Gage is going to be pretty solid.
I'm not very familiar on the Gage kid. Is he a black belt in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, he's out of what the hell is he?
He's
out
at a Butte.
Out of Butte. Yeah.
Copper City?
I think so.
Yeah.
No.
No, I think that's
No,
what
maybe.
I can't
Yeah, I
remember.
don't know. I think he's at a Butte, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Ezra,
it's not gonna be a pushover, but Ezra's a beast.
bro. I'm telling you, guys, Ezra is like Hamzat Chimaev. Like he is that good. He shoots on your legs. He gets up to a body lock, and you're finished.
Yeah, you're going.
He's such an expert back taker, and he's gonna go a long way. He's so phenomenal. Everyone, like even on our trips to the UFC, it's like you can train during the week, and he got a roll with Uriah Faber, and I think Uriah Faber thought he was a slub, and Ezra slept Uriah Faber, made him snore in front of his whole team. Yeah, he's like another level of grappler.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
he's so obsessed with it too. He doesn't just go to practice, go home, fuck around. He goes home and he's like studying it, watching it, and he's a phenomenal athlete. So I mean, I feel like
it's crazy. Like in that, do you find now in your evolution from a fighter to coach, and how the field of fighters, do you kind of find that warrior spirit has waned a little bit in general, or do you just have to like pick them out? Because that's like a legitimate warrior type of thing where he's studying it, he's living it, it's his lifestyle. Do you find people that are willing to do that? It's a little harder, or
there's a lot more in Arizona. There's a lot more in this group. That's why I mean, when I was training in Missoula, Montana, 19 years old, I'm like showing up there every day. The guys aren't showing up every day, and I'm like, I want to make this my life, and none of these guys want to make it their life. So I need to find somewhere where there's people that they're living it. So then that's why I hit up Pat Healy at Team Quest on Twitter just randomly. I'm like, hey, I want to find a group to train with who takes this stuff seriously. And he's like, yep, come out. You can rent my place. Went out there. That's when I started training with Chael Sonnen and all those guys. Being around groups that it's like, oh, this is possible to make a living from fighting. But in Arizona, it's a lot more like that. It's a lot more like they're coming here. They're joining my academy. Usually I ask people their goals. And if they're like, hey, I want to be a professional MMA fighter. So I say, all right, this is what you got to do. And they're usually pretty good about it, or they quit.
yeah, they weed themselves out pretty quick.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, what's something that like you like to instill in your fighters, like whether it be like the mental fortitude, physical toughness, discipline? What's kind of like the key thing that you like to give to all of your fighters in terms of like knowledge or toughness?
I mean, it's a mix of all of them. It's a mix of all of them coming in there. And it's uncomfortable going in there. Like, you got to come into sparring and treat it like it's a fight. Come in there and have nerves. And you guys got to spar hard enough to where if you make a mistake, you could get knocked out in practice. So showing up to practice, but then also keeping the vibes good in practice, and you still care about those people. So you got to enjoy coming to work every day. You can't just hate all these people and just want to kill them every time you go in there. Enjoy coming. And then some coaches are so good at the speeches to just get you motivated to come. And it's like, I'm not going to do that. But Suga and I were not that way. We're going to show up to practice because we want to be as good as we can be. You don't need to tell us. I already know I want to be as good as I can be. I'm going to be at practice. I'm going to be there early. But if you have to get someone motivated, like, oh, got to get some motivation, man. You missed practice. It's like, no, I'm not. It's pointless. Yeah. Pointless. You're either dialed in or you're not.
Yeah.
So
fact.
With you saying that, I know I've seen a lot of dumb shit online. A lot of people saying a lot of dumb shit after Sean's last loss, obviously, and they were calling out, in between rounds how you're coaching, and that's kind of exactly. It's not like I know you great, I know you a little bit, but it's just like whenever I'd seen your guys' interactions or fights before, it always seemed like it was super level-headed. Just, hey, this is what we need to do. This is our game plan. And you caught a lot of shit for it, but I feel like that was how you always handled business before. It didn't seem like you're like, you need to get in there and do this. Like, you guys prepare for this. Business. You know what you need to do. And
I've been around him since he was 18 years old, since his amateur fight. So we've been together now for I think 20 fights now. 20 fight camps together where I'm cornering him. And I've lived with the kid, so I know him very well, and I know what kind of coaching he responds to, and he doesn't respond to people. He knows. He's not dumb. But I did mince my words a little bit. I was like, hey, we're almost done with this, and I meant to say there's 5 minutes left.
Yeah.
But it came out as we're almost. If I would have said there's 5 minutes left, the whole narrative would have changed. Yeah. And I did. That wasn't like the best. He felt a little bit off that night. I felt a little bit off that night. But still, even after that round that I said, hey, we're almost finished with this, what happened in the 5th round? He had Merab fucking running away scared, holding his guts, and he won the 5th round against the cardio machine. So people forget to bring that up. What happened that next round after that?
Exactly.
Damn near finished him.
Well, it just seemed like you were trying to bring him, not in a sense, like kind of back down to the moment, like, hey, and I didn't take it any other way than you saying, we got one more round, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But he did. He came back to the fucking corner defeated. Yeah. Came back defeated, like he almost didn't want to be there. Like, hey, we're almost done with this. I should have said, hey, we got 5 fucking minutes left. But like I said, he won that last round. He was if there was more time left in the round, he probably would have fucking finished him.
And then that is kind of a big deal too, because I don't know if you've experienced that in a fight before, but the guy that just gets your you try to stuff the takedown, he gets the takedown, you get back up, he gets another takedown, you're like morally defeated because you can't do your thing. And to be able to come back in the 5th and almost finish the guy, get you, like we've all been in that spot if you've ever gone against a good wrestler.
Especially against Merab, who's like, they say he's got the craziest cardio ever. He was a lot more tired than that fight than like Suga was.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I mean, like, it's not really fair because Merab, he's already got the elevation change before he shoots, as long as he gets a penetration step.
I was getting excited pre-fight because I seen a video of your boy Schmitty with the cat. He fucking had Merab freaking out on him. And I was like in tears, dude. That guy, that's who I'd like to eventually meet. That dude fucking
you love him,
dude. Yeah, he's so funny.
He's exactly how you'd think he is. Just fucking Schmitty.
That's not an act. That's him.
Yeah, he's a character. He's like he's my barista. He works the night shift at the coffee shop and helps around the gym. And he's trying to do content too. So it's just, he's a funny kid to be around, bro.
Yeah, I started following some of his stuff and he posts some pretty funny shit.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think about the Umar Merab fight?
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance, nothing confirmed yet, but more likely than not, we're fighting the winner of that for the title. Like I said, they haven't said anything for sure. But we're gonna probably fight the winner of that. It's a fucking good fight, dude. Don't clickbait that too much because that's not 100%.
Yeah.
No, there's a lot of things
have to come together.
But I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. Suga's the big star. Whoever that fight, it's gonna be a big fight next. But dude, Umar is a fucking machine. Yeah. And just being a part of that family, being a part of their training. But like I said, we got to focus on the ways we can win. And Suga can touch anyone on the chin and put him out. Merab, I hope we get that fight back. I hope we get that fight back so bad just because I know we can beat him. We fixed a few things, and now Suga got his hip surgery. Now we're going to be able to, because before we'd grapple a lot. He could go through an hour and a half, 2 hour grappling practice with good black belts, good wrestlers. We haven't done that. We haven't been able to do that now for years.
Yeah, because
of his injuries. We have to go into practice and be like, all right, what can we do just to get around all these injuries? So now that he got that fixed, hopefully we can get back to grappling for real, and then that opens up a whole other machine.
Well, and that's cool that he's sorry. I just think it's cool that he was smart enough, and I'm sure you hopefully helped him with that. That he wanted to take a step back and get everything right, to compete at his highest level again. So, and not saying he wasn't competing at his highest level.
No, I mean we should have done that after the Cheeto fight, but it's like you do it. The Aljo fight camp was absolutely the worst fight camp ever. Like I would, weeks before that fight, I would be sitting in the hot tub with my girl, being like, God, fuck, like we're going out to slaughter. Like he's so not 100%. All we can do is hit mitts and game plan and try to crack this guy. Hit mitts, and then we're going against fucking Aljamain Sterling. So that was a nightmare, but then knocked him out. And then
he looked so good in that fight too. Like
and then the Cheeto fight. Yeah. I mean, that was we were healthy. We knew it was going to be mostly a kickboxing fight. We knew that Cheeto couldn't get close enough to take him down. So he was still hurt in that fight too. Pieced him up, looked great, made fucking a fuckload of money, and then now it's like, okay, now this little Marab guy, this little spaz who's so fucking sloppy. He's so sloppy. He's so hittable. Let's knock him out and then we'll get it fixed. But it's like, obviously that was a mistake. So,
yeah, and kudos on Sean for making bank. And a lot of guys would just be like, oh, well, Connor it up and then keep not fighting, and looking for the top level guys like right away.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many big fights left, but you never know in MMA. You never know when's going to be your last fight when you're so injured. And it is different now. It's like Sean could stop fighting now and be pretty set up for his entire life. So having that same hunger, but he does have it. He still has that fucking burning hunger that burns him every day thinking about Marab. So
that's good. That's good.
Well, and that's what I thought was kind of crazy about his drive still, and like your guys' drive. I mean, obviously your coach, you're always going to have that, but I mean, yeah, he could stop fighting now, and with what you guys have built with your podcast and social media, I mean, he could probably, and now he's with W, right?
He's part owner of W, part owner of Happy Dad. Like he's got a lot of things.
Yeah, so I mean, he could easily just kind of ride off into the sunset and enjoy his stuff, and so I just once again kudos to him.
That warrior spirit I'm talking about. That's like you got to want it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like you wake up every day. And you need to let that outlet. You need to train, especially for him. He's a fucking crazy kid. Any of these guys that are at the top level, they got some fucking screws loose. They're pretty crazy, and he definitely does. So keeping him training hard and having a date to prepare for is good. There's gonna come a time where it's like you just have to accept it and find different areas to do. But right now, I gotta just enjoy being able to prepare for fights.
Right. And what speaking of that. In your transition, what did you find was the hardest part in accepting the coach Tim from future prospect Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I've always, even since I was 19, 20 years old, even when we trained at the Dog Pound, I was going in there and running a lot of the practices.
Yeah.
Coaching, cornering a lot of the guys when I'm cornering a lot of the grown men, and I'm just a young kid. So I know I had that in me somewhere, and I knew I wanted to be a coach eventually, and I wanted to own my own gym eventually. It came a lot sooner than I expected, but just accepting it. Be like, my main thing I love is going to practice and being around all the boys, having a good time, competing hard. That's the main thing I love. The fighting's fun, all that stuff's fun and stuff. So I'm like, I didn't stress about it so much, and I still don't beat myself up about it. You could see a lot of people beating themselves up about what could have been if I stayed to the ground. I don't even really think about that. I wouldn't trade where I'm at right now for anything.
Hell yeah.
For anything. And I get a lot more fulfillment helping my guys, giving them confidence, help watching this team and this community of people grow and everyone help each other. I get a lot more fulfillment out of that than me being in the UFC and winning a fight. And then it's like, okay, cool.
It's kind of beautiful. It is kind of like really beautiful to see that evolution too. Like, and it's with your content creation, we get like a unique lens that you wouldn't have. Like when we started, we would have never seen that from, Chuck Liddell.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
The Snapchat is a whole fucking different thing.
You guys'
so
shit kills me, dude. I love watching you guys, Tommy shit. And so you asked me earlier about like me being involved in my community. I actually really enjoy also watching some of your stuff. What's the young man's name? The special needs guy that comes and trains at your gym. He's kind of, I don't know if he's a darker skinned guy. Anyway, so I just seen a video. Was that last year? You guys went to like a special needs dance or something like that. And
Suge brought his belt. It was
sick.
awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just, it's cool to see.
Awesome.
That was cool. So how did you get into all of that?
Well, I went to a coffee shop, and Sean used to work at a disabled like home for his like work with the slower kids for his job coming up and drive them around and stuff.
Yeah.
And I've always loved like those type of people too. So I went. There was a coffee shop, and I saw this place, and I went in there. I was like, "Hey, is there any times like during the week that we can come hang out and just hang out with the guys, maybe play some basketball or do something?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Well, we have dances every Friday night. Do you want to come to this week's dance?" I said, "We just said sure." And went there, and it was sweet.
It looked like a great time. I just appreciate that you guys are willing to go out and do stuff like that, and
yeah.
probably creates a whole. I mean, shit, those guys will probably remember that for the rest of their lives.
Oh, for sure.
Then I seen, you were training. So you have is it like a aerobics class for older people in your gym as well? Did I see that?
Yeah, a Parkinson's boxing. So they did all the Parkinson old people. They come in 3 times a week and train, do some boxing, do some exercise, and it's really good for Parkinson's.
Yeah.
So yeah, it brings a lot of people in, and then the old people love hanging out at the coffee shop, and it's just a cool little place. When you guys come and visit, you'll be like, "Damn, this is pretty sick."
Mm-hmm.
I told my in-laws, we were trying to make it happen last time I was on there when you messaged me, and I was like, "Fuck it!" I had like 2 days to be there.
Yeah.
And so they live in Florence, which is like fucking, I think it's like 40 minutes or 45 from Phoenix. But so I'm coming back up in February, or down there in February, and I'll be there for like 5 days. So I told Davey, I was like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have to carve out at least one full day where I kind of want to go over it, and it'd just be fun, and I don't know much about anything, but it'd be fun to just. I like putting myself, outside of my comfort zone, and it'd be fun just to come train a little bit.
Yeah, 100%.
The culture that you guys are building down there is what's super interesting, and just it's badass.
Yeah, you'll love it because it's like not in like a poppin' part of town. It's like we're more on the west side, old folks type of town. Just not a lot going on, so. Building it there is good. There's not a bunch of clubs around.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, especially with Suge, like, everyone wants to give him a free bottle. Everyone wants to give him a free table. And then there's hot girls, like, all over the place. So, but then once you do that a few times, it's like, fuck, you get burnt out on it. So
same story.
Staying away from that is a lot more
You kind of understand, like, Rocky training on the mountains sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was, kind of wondering too, what that's like. Because last time you guys were here, I said that to you. I try not to take up too much of your time because I know everyone wants a piece of you guys now. What is that like for you? Kind of like Manny's and just dealing. I mean, I'm sure you've been dealing with it for a long time, but just like now that you guys have kind of reached this whole new level, it's like what is that like? Kind of dealing with that. Just
learning to say no nicely and not be like, yeah, maybe, or which is hard. It's hard, but if you just say no in a nice way, learn to say no, and people are like, hey, you want to jump on this call? I got this business idea. It's multiple of those a week. Yeah. So it's like, hey, I don't have time to jump on a call. Just send what you're wanting to say in an email, and then I'll get back to you if I'm interested at all. So just learn to say no and just focusing on what kind of things. I write it down every week, what things I'm focused on this week. And what things are giving me my greatest return, what things I want to focus on. And some of that too, it's like, okay, I do have a 3-hour, 4-hour split where I have nothing to do, but that's like my time. That's where I have nothing to do. Yeah. And people are like, hey, you want to go do this at this time? I'd be like, no, that's my time for YouTube. That's where I sit and watch my YouTube and I hang out with my animals. So I don't have that time. So just learning to say no,
getting that power of no.
Well, it's got to be tough because a lot of people, I'm sure, are genuine and are just trying to be nice. But then obviously there's a fuckload of people that are, they want something on the back end of it.
Yeah,
so.
And most of them are genuine and nice, but it's like so many. Like it's good for Suge. Like you can't even find his contact. You don't even know where to contact him or how to contact him, which it makes it almost worse for me though. Everyone's fucking hitting up me. I'm like, I'm not his manager. I have nothing to do with any of that shit. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to show him this message. Get away.
Yeah. Hey, can you pass him my mixtape?
No, but seriously. Oh, man. I was just laughing because I was thinking about that last Fusion card that he was on. here before he went down, or maybe that was it still Fight Force? I think it was Fusion before he went down and went pro, or maybe his last one here. And he was selling his gear, so I still have one of his last T-shirts that he had when he was an amateur.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I was selling it for his parents. It's just funny how small this community is.
Yeah,
I just remember him being the kid across like the next town over that was beating all my buddies up. No one could hit him.
Yep.
He just
the
kept
fast
doing
little
it.
scrawny kid. It's crazy. A lot of luck, but a lot of being prepared for that luck and putting ourselves in the right places for that luck and just doing the right things.
Seizing the opportunity presented.
Yeah.
When did you feel like you had to fight a little bit harder to get respect because you were from Montana, or did people kind of just recognize it based off of your skill and what you brought to the table?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, as long as you're just winning, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, and then I can imagine Sean too, because he's a personality. He's always been a personality since he was a kid. So
yeah, but then you have people like saying, "Hey, UFC doesn't want that. UFC doesn't want like weed. They're not big on weed, and they're not big on this brash. Like, it takes balls. Like, you're the only one on the UFC card to make a fro and have a colorful fro, and then you're showing up to a UFC event with all these legends, and they're looking at this kid with a colorful fro. It's like, it took a lot of balls to do that. Once you start knocking people out, going through wars, beating up Peter Yan, then people are like, oh shit, this motherfucker's the real deal. And then everyone wants on board and they think it's cool.
Yeah. And he kind of played the heel there for a first little bit. A lot of people wanted him to lose because he was that guy, and then they try to feed him some guy, and he just.
I mean, yeah, and you get that. Like, even when Paddy Pimblett came on, I know Paddy Pimblett. I've had friends who fought him before the UFC. I'm like, he's not that good. They're hyping him up, and I'm like, you just have this, just naturally in everybody, you have this little bit of hate towards him. Yeah. UFC's trying to push him so hard, but he's not that great. Like, UFC's not trying to push some of these other people who are really good. But then they start winning, and then Paddy Pimblett starts getting better, and you're like, all right, now I'm on board. Like, it's a show he's putting on. It's pretty cool. And I think that's similar to what happened with Suge too.
Yeah. And Chuck's style. It's just exciting.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what they needed.
Well, and it just, like you're saying, like, you guys just did it your way from the beginning. And I feel like the authenticity, people appreciate, obviously. And then, like, a bunch of us are just a bunch of kind of weirdos. So you guys, like, I'm not saying that you make weird content, but it's just funny shit. You know what I mean? That people can relate to. It's like, hey, I like smoking pot and being goofy as hell, you know what I mean? I love the videos where you're running around shooting your bow and arrow around and shit like that. So
Are you gonna mimic fucking Alex and kick the soccer ball up and shoot it this time?
Yeah. And hit my neighbor's cow.
Sorry.
But so I wasn't sure how much time you had. I think we're close to the 50-minute mark, and I know you said at least 30, so I didn't want to push our luck too much. We appreciate you coming in, so I know you guys got a lot of stuff to prepare for tomorrow and for today even. So, dude,
fuck yeah! I hope you guys stick with it, especially in Great Falls. There's probably so many different type people you could talk to, owners of all these businesses, all these different type of people. I hope you guys stick with the pod.
Yeah, well, especially once we start moving on to like on-site stuff, and I'm healed up, so Jake and I can start doing things now. Like the thing that our significant others don't like, we're like, oh, maybe there's a bull riding thing. We can just go do something like that. Or then fill in blank here wherever we're going to go.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Fun little adventures. Fun, and that was kind of like the whole point is, we want to do wrestling, obviously all the badass stuff, but also we wanted to cover, our physical journey. So we had Wayne Morin on our last show. We had Tom Wiley the other week. So it's been fun just getting to sit down with these people and just, Tom Wiley had some great stories. Wayne had some amazing knowledge to impart on us. So it's just fun just getting to learn, shit about people.
Oh, dude, it's the best for sure.
Yeah.
I want to go down where they make those supplements we was talking about in Billings. Because, it's like on site in Billings is one of the production centers for the fueled supplements. So
that'd be interesting.
It'd be kind of nice to like show the process as much as you can.
It's just powdered sugar. And
what the hell?
This is the pre-workout?
Yeah, right. So,
Paris, you have anything else to add in here?
No, I'm good. Thanks for coming on, man. It's always cool to see you, and it's always fun watching you too. So I'm excited to see your boys fight this weekend. So,
dude, fuck yeah.
Season's beatings this Saturday.
Thanks a lot, boys.
Thanks,
man.
hard.
Have a good night.
All right.
Cool.